this is Ben, and we've been asked to tell you a little bit of our story today, and how God has provided for us massively throughout our lives. So that's what we're here to do.
Cool. So just to start off with, we met at Mattersey Bible College. I was the year above Ruth.
Because he's old.
Because I felt God called me for my education earlier. We both went there because we felt we wanted to have a better understanding of the Bible, to learn more about God and to connect more with God before we went into any kind of ministry that God had called us to. It was an interesting time. I was there for my first year, and if any of you know Mattersey, it's a place that's in the middle of nowhere, so a car is a must. And God provided financially for me in that sense that the summer I went back home, I was able to build a garage for someone who then that money provided great for a vehicle that got me through Mattersey for the rest of the time I was there.
Yeah. We had fees and everything to pay, and this was before the time when student loans and everything actually covered the full cost of your fees. It was when you actually had to work part-time as well. So God provided for me for my fees as well, not by dropping money into my account magically, unfortunately. But it was by providing extra hours at work. I worked part-time at Meadowhall, and it was sort of any time during holidays, if I had availability to work, there were always hours available. Sort of people would phone up and say, oh, we've got extra shifts, can you do them? And so God provided for us practically, but it wasn't just sort of money through our letterbox, which you sometimes hear about. It was more in ways we provided opportunities for us to work, and that financially supported us, so that was fantastic.
So we got to know each other at Mattersey, and then after about 6 months of dating, we got married.
We did.
We decided if we were going to do it, then let's just get married. There's no point hanging around and waiting. Let's just do what we felt was right. So we got married. I stayed on and worked at Mattersey for a while whilst Ruth finished her course. And then we both felt at the time that we wanted to go on mission. We felt that God had called us to go and do some missionary work. I initially wanted to go to Africa, and Ruth wanted to go to Colombia. So we talked about it, prayed about it, and felt that Colombia was the right choice, and worked out really well because we had some contacts in Colombia as well. So we were able then to finish up at Mattersey, save up some money, and then go off to Colombia for 4 months.
Yeah. I was working in the school, so it was a missionary project which had a school, a feeding programme, local small enterprise for the community. So I was teaching English in the school from years 4 to year 8, and Ben was there. What were you doing?
What was I doing, really? What was I doing? I was sitting drinking tea while Ruth was working in the classroom.
Yeah, in 40-degree heat, you just sat there drinking tea.
So when Ruth was in class, I was working with some of the younger guys and the older teenagers, just going through some different building work with them, just spending time with them, talking to them about God and what they were doing in life and what their ambitions were, and just giving them some practical ways of when they've got their own houses that they would be able to do work, and ways to be able to provide for their family when they're older as well. And then in the evenings and weekends, we spent time with the young guys within the compound and
within the church. It was the youth group from the church, wasn't it, that was associated with the project. Yeah,
so we spent time with them a couple of times a week. We'd go through some music practice with them. So I would be teaching them the drums, Ruth was doing the keys and singing. Which was really interesting because their drum rhythm is completely different to how we would play it.
Ben had to learn.
One of their guys ended up teaching me the drums for their rhythm, and then I would then use that to carry on teaching the rest of the young guys who were learning and wanted to learn the drums while we were there.
Oh yeah, your Latin vibe.
It was great fun. I couldn't do it now if I tried.
No, you wouldn't.
And then we would do I was heavily involved in running their youth group for them, where we just literally would go through the Bible, we'd pick out some really core subjects from it and just spend time talking to them about it and preaching and speaking to them, and just doing some games. So we found a lot in the different times doing youth work, as you'll find out in the next 20 minutes or so, that there's a generation that doesn't know how to mix. They can talk to each other, even if they haven't got the phones. Like in Colombia where we're at, they didn't have those extra things, didn't have phones and laptops lying around, but they didn't know how to have fun with each other. They're just playing games, so we were able to just play games and just have a real good laugh with them. just to connect with them in a new way, which was challenging for me because I am shocking with languages. I tried learning Spanish before I went, and I managed to communicate really well. And if I got really stuck, I'd just look at Ruth and be like, I have no idea what's going on right now.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time translating, it was a really good opportunity actually.
Me and Omar did well. We managed to communicate all the time.
Yeah, the guy you were working with a lot, you got on really well with, didn't you? They came up with their own like little sign language system. I don't know how you understood each other. I really don't.
It wasn't every conversation with them with a nod because we both agreed we understood what each other was saying, and then we'd crack on with what we needed doing.
It was a really great time, and it was an opportunity that I think we really, really appreciated, because until you've lived abroad or done any kind of short-term mission work, even gone on a trip for a couple of weeks somewhere, you don't really understand how other people live and how their lives are affected, and you don't really appreciate what you have. And I think we came back and just thinking about things like having children, we had this sort of idea of, well, you need a car seat, you need a pushchair, you need 16 bottles, you need all these different things, because that's how our society says that you need to do things. And while we were over there, people who had babies just had a baby and carried it around places and got on with it without anything. So it really changes your perspective on things.
Just with literally without.
Yeah.
They were living in a room, would have food, people would help give them to food, and they'd have a family in
6 or 7 people.
Literally nothing. In
like one room and a little curtained off bit for part of the family to live in and stuff. So it was a really challenging and eye-opening opportunity that helped shape your thinking, I think, for the rest of your life. So that was fab.
It was great. So we originally we were going there for 6 months, and then things changed, so it ended up being 4 months, which was really nice because I was desperate to come home for a real good English burger, to get a real nice cooked breakfast as well. We took some chocolate with us, and we had some chocolate and stuff sent across to us. If you know me, I'm a chocolate addict.
Yeah,
it has to be Cadbury's or dairy.
Posted out to him.
So I had it posted to me, and we literally rationed it off. I worked out how much I could have each day while we were there. That would give us enough to get home. And then we came home, and we were a bit back and forth for a while while we were waiting for some things to just line up.
Yeah, it was like a real faith experience for us, because we didn't have jobs to come back to. We'd both had part-time jobs and things while we were at college, and then we went out to Columbia, and we didn't have anything lined up, and we didn't have anywhere to live either. So we ended up spending 2 weeks at my parents', and then when we couldn't spend any more time there, we went to 2 weeks to your parents.
Well.
All right, 2 weeks at your parents, and then again we reached our limit with them, and we just did 2 weeks with each parent, didn't we?
But we did that because we wanted to spend time equally with our parents.
Yes.
That's what it was for. It wasn't because we were getting frustrated and needed the space.
Yes.
So.
We ended up feeling like when we came back from Columbia, we knew that we wanted to work for church, that we really felt that we had something to offer church to help out, just to, I don't know.
To do what God had called us to do?
Yeah.
But I think from the beginning we met at Mattersey. God had called us to Mattersey for a reason.
Yeah.
And then we knew that God had called us in to work for church, to lead a church. So we had gone to Columbia because we wanted to understand that experience of mission. We felt for us we couldn't go out and encourage people to do missionary work, to go out and help others without actually doing that actively ourselves. And so that was a main core value for us, was that we had to be acting on something that we would be promoting and encouraging other people to do as well. And then when we came back, we ended up, we worked in the church in Luton for, I can't remember.
It was just under 2 years, I think it was, that we were there. We were doing various bits. I was working as the office manager, doing a lot of practical stuff around the church. They hadn't really had anybody doing any kind of administration or support with planning and strategy stuff, so that was really good, because that's totally my skill set. You were doing all the youth and kids work, and you were associate pastoring as well, weren't you? So we were both involved with preaching and doing Bible studies, and obviously I was leading worship and leading services and stuff, and it was a really, really good time, especially for me, because I'm a northerner and it was down south, and that was a culture shock experience, never mind Columbia.
I helped you. I helped her to pronounce those words.
Yeah, you then translated for me. That was how it worked when we went to Luton, wasn't it?
Bath and grass, not bath and grass, as you would call it.
Anyway, we got through that. We stayed there, and we did an extension on the house that we bought while we were there.
Well, that was that house itself was. We just started looking at houses, and I'd said specifically that I wanted a corner plot
Yeah.
of a house that we could do an extension on, so that it was big enough for us to have as a family, because we were initially thinking we would be down there longer. And there's literally nothing around, because all these corner plots had gone and everyone's extended on them already. And then one came up within a few days of us looking, and it was the perfect house. It was a 2-bed house, had the whole space around the front and the side for us to build.
Yeah.
And then God just provided financially for us to then extend that and make that available for a larger family as well.
Yeah, again, we had part-time jobs while we worked at church. So I then worked for Bupa Care Homes as a maintenance manager, and I worked for Boots at Luton Airport.
To be.
It was really good, and then again, exactly at the right time that we needed additional finance for doing the building work, and when the contracts ended at the church, full-time jobs came up at both places. So it was just God's amazing timing and provision for work for us there. And then we stayed there until we'd finished building the house, and we sold the house, and then we moved up here, and I was 8 months pregnant when we moved.
Which was a bit of a strategic move, because my parents were in Hull, Ruth's parents were up in Sheffield or Rotherham.
Yeah.
And we kind of figured it'd be nice to have some support around for a baby coming along.
We wanted to move near a family, didn't we? So we came back up to Rotherham, which was my hometown, is where I was born and raised.
I know, it's not her fault.
And again, God provided the... God provided... You're seeing now. Provided the transfer for us again at the right time. We decided that we wanted to move up north, and then we were sort of thinking, right, well, we'll have to look for brand new jobs and probably change stuff. And I was pregnant, so I was going on maternity leave, and the timing of the house move fitted exactly with when I needed to go on maternity leave. So we put it on the market in the January. It sold within a couple of weeks, and we'd moved by the end of the April. So it was all really quick.
I got the job transfer.
Yeah,
I transferred to another Bupa care home up here that had been looking for someone for a few months. They had someone come on, didn't work out. The previous guy came back for a while because he was retiring, and literally went up. I spoke to the manager, had a conversation, and that was it. Started working 2 weeks later, full time.
Yeah. So again, God just kind of dropped everything into place exactly as we needed it, even before we knew we needed it. It was all put together, ready for us. And then when we had Logan, came back off maternity leave, I started working for the Hub in Rotherham, which was a church we were going to. It was a church that we were both involved with before while we were at Mattersea. And so it was a little bit like a home church for us. So we worked there for a few years as a centre manager, and we were involved again with worship and doing events and all sorts of other things. And then we sort of hit a little bit of a bumpy patch, to put it lightly. We had some sort of serious relationship issues come up. And it was a really, really difficult time, as anyone who's been through relationship issues can understand. We ended up going through some marriage counselling for about 9 months or so, with a really, really lovely Christian lady. We worked through loads of issues, and
some we didn't even know we had.
Yeah, most of them we didn't know we had.
Yeah, we just kind of things that had been frustrating us for a while, or you just brushed it under the carpet because it's fine, it's just one of those things. And it just built up and built up, I think.
Yeah. So. And then sort of like all exploded in one go, and then we had to sort it out afterwards. So the good thing was, because we worked through all those issues, we actually came out of the whole experience a lot stronger than we'd ever even started with. A lot more comfortable in our relationship and with each other. And so you look back on it, and again, you just remember the words in the Bible that God works all things together for good. And although it wasn't a great experience at the time, if we hadn't have gone through something like that, we probably wouldn't have the kind of relationship that we do now. So that's amazing. One thing that God really provided for us in that time was just emotional support and strength. And I was writing little diary entries, because again, it was something that the counsellor suggested that we do. So I bought a brand new notebook. I love stationery, so it was my opportunity to go shopping, a bit of retail therapy in there.
Any excuse to get stationery.
So I bought this lovely notebook, and the very first page in there, I just wrote that whatever is written in this book, I will look back and see the faithfulness of God. And that was before I'd written anything, and that's before we'd kind of worked through stuff. That was literally at the lowest point of our experience, and kind of going, what on earth is happening here? I was able to write that, and then years later open it up and read through the pages of what I'd written, and it was exactly true. I knew that God would get us through this, and he did. And it's true, I read back through the pages and I saw the faithfulness of God. So that is something amazing that he provided for us there as well. Mm-hmm. We were still at the hub at this point, and then they had a leadership change, didn't they?
Yeah. So they had a leadership change. And for us, we had some conversations with the leadership. And we just felt that it was time for us to move on.
Yeah.
And so we looked at a couple of churches. It wasn't where God had called us to. And then we ended up at Sheffield Christian Life Centre.
Yeah, we did.
Where we both felt that God had called us there to come and support the church, support the leadership team, and just to get involved and do stuff. Yeah. Just to carry on our journey from what he'd called us to do from the beginning.
Yeah. The sort of, when we look back over life, or life as we know it so far, one of the kind of best stories that we've got of God's provision for us is in this house we're in. Your house.
My house.
Your house. Well, it kind of was your house because it all started with you, didn't it?
Yeah.
We'd been looking for a little bit to move house.
We've been looking for weeks.
Oh yeah, all right.
We've been trolling. If anyone who's moved house, you'll know that when you're looking for a house, you troll every single house, and when you don't find the house you want, you up the price or you up the area search. We'd done all that, and we literally got to the point where we was like, you know what? Maybe God doesn't want us to move. We'll just stay in this house.
Yeah.
Which was gut wrenching because we didn't want to stay in the house. We wanted to move, which was interesting. And then, did you want to tell me what, me?
No, yeah, you tell them that. Yeah.
So Ruth, we decided on a Saturday night that was it. We're going to stay in the house we were at. Ruth got up the next morning, went to church for worship practice. I stayed at home. Initially sorted the boys out, Logan out, and then we'd go to church later on for the meeting start. But that night, I'd had a dream of a house, and it was a Tudor front house.
So the black and white.
The black and white striped or panels on it. A huge garden. It had Artex ceiling.
And you even dreamt the price, didn't you?
Yeah, and the price was I had a price. I'd come on my mind exactly what it was. So I woke up, sat up in bed. Ruth had already gone at this point. Pulled up my phone and just searched the price of that house on Rightmove or whatever
website we were on. Yeah.
And literally the first house that came up was the house that we're currently in. And it was the exact price that had come in my mind. I'm flicking through the pictures, and the front of the house is exactly the house I'd seen in my dream. And the same, when you look through the pictures, the different things I'd seen in my dream, every single one of them was there at the same time.
Yeah.
Which was, for me, I was just like, that doesn't happen. I don't do dreams.
No.
I mean, I don't sleep great anyway, so to dream was cool.
Yeah.
To actually have a dream
enough to
and
dream.
to see the picture of the house that I'd seen in my dream was just amazing. Which then meant I was eager to get to church to actually go and tell Ruth about everything.
Yeah. So obviously got to Monday, we phoned up the estate agent, and he said, there's already an offer in on the house. There's a lady coming back tomorrow to have a second and final viewing. She's bringing a builder with her because she wants to do some different work inside. So she's getting a final price from a builder, but she's already got an offer in and it's provisionally been accepted. So I was just gutted.
It was, but you were cheeky. Ruth was her cheeky self. And she's on the phone to the estate agent guy and he says, well, seeing as she's coming across to have a quick look today, can we kind of like tag on in and just sneak in just in case something goes wrong and have a look at the house?
I said, I'll tell you what, we'll park down the road so she doesn't know we're there, and then when she's gone, since you're there anyway, we'll just come and have a look. And so we agreed. So we managed to get like this sneaky backhanded viewing of the house. And we looked around it and we were both just like, okay, we want this house. This is our house.
This is the house God
this is it. It has to be. And so on the way out, we drove out, and we both just sort of, like, I prayed in the car out loud, said, right God, the woman who's just come to look at the house, I want her builder to come back with a much higher quote than she anticipated, so she has to lower her offer and they get offended and don't sell her the house. And then the very next day the estate agent phoned and said, that offer's fallen through. And I was like, oh, why? And he goes, her builder had overquoted her and she wanted to reduce the offer price and they weren't happy with it.
At which point we literally went, okay, cool, we'll give you the asking price.
Yeah, we'll have it then.
And they came back with because we hadn't actually put ours on the market yet, the seller came back and said they weren't interested because they wanted a quick sale.
Yeah.
So we literally went back, we'll give you the asking price and we'll cover the bills of the house that they're paying out for, council tax
Yeah,
and
we'll
stuff.
pay all that until the
And
sale goes
they still
through.
came back with a no.
And so we're just like, why is this not working? God's given us a dream of this
This
house.
was the house.
This is the one.
Crack on, let's get in.
You know, it can't not be right. And so we were due to go for dinner that night with some friends of ours and people that we know that have rental properties in the area. And we were just like chatting to them about the house, and we sort of said, oh, yeah, we've seen this one we really like, and explained the story. And they just went, oh, well, we've been looking for another house that we can take on and put in our portfolio. So we'll buy your house, cash, and then you'll be in a position to sell.
Which was great, because when we rang up the estate agent the next day, who was due to come around to value our house to put on the market and say, don't bother coming around, we've sold
already
the house,
sold it.
and we're now going to offer you 10 grand less for the property that we wanted yesterday for the full price.
Because we're now in a position, we've got a quick sale on ours, we can take it straight away. And so we ended up getting this house for 10 grand less than we had originally offered, and were moved in again within a couple of months. So God just lined up the dominoes. It's sort of the only way I can
Everything
really
kind
go
of
with that.
fell in place as we went along.
Yeah, but again, it wasn't the way we expected, because we thought, right, we'll put in offer of the asking price because we want this house, and they still rejected it. And you just think, who rejects an asking price of a house?
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
But you just had an offer. You don't have any work to do. Just take it and be done.
Just do it. And then the day after, we got it for 10 grand less. And then you sort of sit there and go, oh, okay, God, that's why.
I'll take that.
Yeah, a lot of things in our journey and in our story have been, you look back and go, oh, that's why. But at the time, you just don't really understand what God's doing. Yeah. But it's that trust that you just develop over time. When you go through so many of those situations, you end up going, oh, God must know what he's doing, because he has done this whole time. We've never had a point where we've been left in the lurch or God's let us down on something.
Even to, like, sometimes you get to the brink and you're on that edge.
Yeah.
And we've got to the point where we're just like, you know what?
Sack it.
It's not our problem. God's in control. God's got bigger things to us to be thinking about than the small things that he'll provide without even thinking about it. And we just say, right, God, it's all yours. Crack on. Deal with it.
Yeah. A lot of people kind of say to us when they hear parts of our story and stuff like, oh, how did you not just have loads of anxiety issues and panic and
we
worry
don't have time
about
for
this?
that.
Well, we don't have time for that. But also, we've never been in a point where we've actually felt that, because when you can truly sit there and go, God's got it, then you don't have to worry about it. It's that verse that, you know, he clothes and feeds the birds of the air, and he looks after even the smallest ones, so why would he not look after you? And that has been really evident in every step of our life, that God has a much bigger plan than we know about. He's lining it all up ahead of you, even if you can't see where it's going.
Even if it's the direction we don't want it to go in.
Yeah, because God knows better. God knows which way it's going.
Sometimes it's just saying, all right, you've got this. I don't want to do this right now, but you're in control, so I'm just going to do what you've asked me to do.
Yeah, and it is a really freeing way to live, actually. When you get into the habit of doing it, it actually means that you don't sit there and worry about it and stress about it. And who doesn't want less stress in their life?
Yeah.
So there you go. That's basically a rough overview of our story.
That's just a quick crunch of the last 11, 12 years.
God's provided for us financially, emotionally, spiritually, in timing, and in the way he's just coordinated stuff, and we are so thankful for that. And we know that he's going to continue doing that in the future. So I hope that some of our story blessed you and encouraged you in your journey with him as well. Thanks very much.
Bye. See you later. Bye.